Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Entering the US House chamber like some sort of medieval monarch, with Republicans keen to touch their messiah. But this was less King's speech and more of a monologue. Donald Trump delivering the longest State of the Union address in history.
My fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before.
The president's USA sales pitch clocked in at 1 hour and 47 minutes.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
It took nearly 2 hours, but Donald Trump's message could have been summed up in just one word: winning.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
While the US hockey team might be winning, Donald Trump isn't. His approval ratings have fallen. Americans are increasingly losing faith in the president on the issue of immigration. Once again, Trump doubled down on his dehumanising and divisive language.
The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
As his critics mouthed, among other things, murderer. While Trump's sermon was largely uninterrupted, there was some punctuation in the form of protest. A Democratic representative had this message, a reference to Trump recently sharing a racist video of Barack and Michelle Obama. On his beloved tariffs, he called the Supreme Court decision to kill his pet project
unfortunate, disappointing.
As 4 black-robed justices sat on the front row, and Trump renewed his vow to deny Iran nuclear weapons.
My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
Afterwards, the Democrats accused Trump of trying to gaslight the American people.
It was just a pack of lies. It's the same old thing that we've seen out of Donald Trump over and over again, where he's trying to gaslight the American people, trying to pretend like the economy is doing well, trying to pretend like everything is normal. And as my sign said last year, this is not normal.
From immigration to Iran, it was the longest State of the Union speech of all time. But his critics concluded Trump actually said very little. Joining me now is Amisha Cross, who is a Democratic political strategist. Amisha, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, when President Trump addressed the State of the Union, his approval ratings last year were much higher than they are now. How do you think he did?
Ostensibly, President Trump failed this State of the Union. The American people are calling out for things like affordability. They are saying that the cost of living is too high. Rents keep going up, the cost of food, the cost of, groceries, making sure that you're able to pay your bills, utility bills, so on and so forth. And that they are really expecting this White House to make some level of change. And Donald Trump, for his part last night, ignored that that is even the case. He is trying to tell people that prices are going down, mortgage, rent, food, you name it, and they are just not seeing that at home. In addition to that, he focused in on something many Americans have already showcased, be it whether they are Republicans or Democrats, that they are bothered by, and that is his undocumented enforcement. When we talk about ICE and the individuals, the 2 American citizens who were killed by ICE officers in Minneapolis, and some of the overreach that we've seen time and time again there. This is a president who used his State of the Union to basically rally his base, but also to create an alternative reality from what Americans are actually living every day.
I mean, Donald Trump's critics have accused him of gaslighting the American people. That was very, very strong language. Do you think that's the case?
Absolutely. But I also think that Trump fundamentally does not want to believe the poll numbers, nor does he know how to reduce these prices. And he doesn't want to come off of the tariff strategy that he himself imposed, that the Supreme Court of the United States just last week said was outside of his authority.
We've seen with Donald Trump, haven't we, that some of the American public are losing faith with his immigration policies, and yet he doubled down, didn't he, on his divisive language. Do you think he might stop and row back on that at some point?
Absolutely not. I don't think that Trump cares about how the American public reviews his immigration policies. He ran on immigration not once, not twice, but 3 times. And to Trump's success, he has been able to diminish and basically eradicate completely illegal border crossings at our southern border. He went above and beyond that in terrorizing American cities and communities. If the southern border was your issue, if harsh criminals, if we're talking about violent criminals, was something that he was going to go after. That's a very small slice of the undocumented population. What he did was go after preschool teachers. What he did was go after people who work in bars and grocery stores. What he did was, instruct ICE to terrorize communities.
I guess there were moments of protest as well today from Democrats and others. What stuck out for you as the key moments?
I think some of the things that stuck out to me, first and foremost, was Republicans who clapped at numbers they knew weren't correct. The excitement of Republicans when he started touting off those economic numbers that he pulled out of thin air. We know that the gas prices weren't real. We know that he's not, solving the healthcare crisis. But in addition to that, it was an acknowledgement by many when he started doing the fear tactics and the fear mongering around immigrants. Immigrants in this country are not rapists and murderers. Immigrants in this country are not out to prey on young children. Immigrants in this country help to make our country vibrant. They drive innovation. They fill consequential jobs. I think that for Democrats, being able to shout down in as much as they could, that type of messaging was very important. But also, and I think it's important to note here, several Democrats were missing from the chamber on purpose. During last night's State of the Union, many decided not to show up at all while they were hosting counter programming at Capitol Hill, where they were literally hosting an event that spoke to the issues of the American people, specifically around the economy, but also around some of the harsh effects of these immigration policies, because they need to talk to the people who are directly affected by this. Donald Trump was talking to a very slice of the American pie, which is his base. And he was, in all honesty, trying to, again, make people see things that are not actually happening.
As is kind of characteristic and true of Donald Trump, it was a very theatrical performance. Just so people can get some context, I mean, there were lots of protests which punctuated this speech. Is that common? Do we normally see this sort of heckling with other presidents?
I remember the big screams from Republicans, "You lie," during during President Obama's administration. I remember the newspapers that went up as people were trying to ignore him when he was talking. I remember the disrespect the first Black president of the United States received from members of the Republican contingency in Congress. That's not new. Yes, there were some significant moments where he was just out flat lying. The stats are what they are, and he was just making things up as it relates to inflation numbers, as it relates to the cost of gas, as it relates to immigrants. A lot of that just was untrue, and there were people in the audience, particularly members of Congress, who are immigrants. When we talk about people like Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who is a Somali immigrant to the United States, she took personal offense to the things that he was saying about some Somali immigrants. And I think that that was very visible for her. But by and large, it was a pretty smooth so-to in comparison to what it could have been. The majority of the protests were happening outside that chamber.
The midterms are coming up in November. It's not looking good for Donald Trump in the opinion polls at the moment. Do you think some of this speech will come back to haunt him?
Absolutely. But he doesn't care because you know who's not on the ballot in the midterms? Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump has never been somebody who really cared about the Republican Party as much as he cares about himself. And the Republicans, for whatever reason, have not figured that out. This is a president who does not plan on changing his policies as it relates to the ways that they have hurt the American public. What he plans on doing, and part of that he talked about last night, was choosing his voters. So when you talk about inserting certain voter ID laws, you are diminishing who has access to the ballot. This is a president who plans on, when midterms come, deciding who gets to show up, ensuring that there will be multiple different versions of ID that can be used, but also somebody who is actively trying to purge and knock people off of the voter roll. His plan of action is not to work across the aisle. His plan of action is not to, do anything as it relates to where the polling shows that Trump is underwater on a variety of items. His plan is to ensure that anybody who plans on voting against him or wants to see a different plan for their future does not get to vote at all.
Amisha Cross, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.